Hello, I'm your host, David Newson, and welcome to Coded in Gold. This podcast explores the fractured, beautiful pieces of our modern life through compelling stories and conversations with exceptional individuals. Let's get started. Welcome. In today's episode, I spoke with Mary Beth Storjohann. Mary Beth is the founder of Allora Wealth Management, a firm that aims to empower women around money. We connected shortly after the launch of her firm following a sabbatical from her previous role as a co-CEO. We talked about how you know when it's time to make a big life transition, how we talk to our children about money, and how we challenge our scripts around money that no longer serve us. We had a fantastic conversation, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Mary Beth. Your LinkedIn post that I read, which was, 2 months ago? And you basically say, after 6+ years, you're officially stepping away from your role as co-CEO of Abacus and the firm. And I was like, ugh! What is happening? Why is this happening? And then I kept reading, and where you had me, I was like, oh gosh, we need to talk, and we need to talk about this thing. And not the thing stepping away from co-CEO and the firm, not that. Yeah. I mean, that could be juicy, but but where you had me was oh my goodness, this is what you said. You said, this decision gives me space to pause, reflect, and reconnect with what matters most. And that is a phrase. What matters most is a phrase. I'm going to actually share this. I'm not going to put the firm, but I used to run a dinner series in San Francisco that had this at the top.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, and letterpress invitations, Jeffersonian style dinners. And I was but that's one of these phrases that is a defining thing about me. Yeah. I am on a quest for what matters most, and it changes, right?
It changes.
And then you said, as a founder, a creative, and a human. And I was like, ooh, tribe, all the bells are going off, tribe. And so I was like, okay, I have to have you on. I want to talk about it. Yeah. And I want to get into all of the things.
Yeah. All of it.
Okay. Yeah. So where do we begin? Go back a couple of months. You were writing this post. It must have been a wild time contemplating a departure like that.
It was a wild time. I'm a pretty open book. So I'll go back to 2023. I'm going to go back to 2019. I merged into Abacus. It was wonderful. It wasn't wonderful. It was stressful. You merge, it's stressful. It's stressful.
It's stressful.
It became CMO. You know that job.
Oh, yeah.
COVID hit. And then stepped into a new firm, merged my clients. The website at Abacus launched the day the world shut down, which the website.
Oh man,
this is a funny thing. Fast forward, went through all of the transition. Co-CEO. 2023 happened, and I went on sabbatical. Took my first sabbatical ever. I had been working since I was 15 years old.
Okay, sabbatical. How long?
Sabbatical is 6 weeks sabbatical.
Okay.
6 weeks sabbatical. I don't know how to take a sabbatical. I did not know how to take a sabbatical at that point in time. Again, I have to go back to that. I had been working since I was 15 years old, type A person. My worth was in my work at that point in time. Right. That's just, didn't know anything else. I had been hustling to build my own business. And then I found myself back into this. I had contemplated in my 20s leaving the industry because I did not know how to authentically be myself inside of a firm.
Put a pin in that. Want to come back to that. Yeah.
That's what led me to launching Workable Wealth, which is how I ended up at Abacus. I had my own firm. I don't know if you know this background story. I had my own firm before I ended up at Abacus. I launched in 2013 Workable Wealth as one of the first virtual RIAs in the country, registered investment advisors. I was recruited by them to become their chief marketing officer after I got a lot of media and wrote a book and did things. So
I did some things,
but I had launched that firm because I didn't feel like I fit anywhere in the industry. In 2013, I had been in the industry for a decade. I did not feel like I felt anywhere else, felt like I could be myself and work with who I wanted to work with in the industry. So I had launched something that was my baby. I grew this thing, and then I merged it into Abacus. So kind of felt like I gave a piece of myself over to the firm. 2023 hit, was still hustling, took my sabbatical, but actually didn't take a sabbatical. I overloaded. I did the social media sabbatical of look at my to-do list of all of the experiences I'm going to have and all
Whoa.
of the wandering I'm going to do, and I'm going to learn Spanish and pottery and books and
Huh?
just overloaded. And I ended that sabbatical. I basically crawled out of it. My family and I were in Costa Rica. My daughter got food poisoning, and my son threw up in the van on the way to the airport, and I had a panic attack. Like I had never had a panic attack before, but I had a
Wow.
panic attack in the. I realized after the fact I had it was a panic attack in the shuttle on the way to the airport because I was just done.
Yeah.
Um, and so I started kind of this period in 2023 coming out of that. I went to like this kind of anxious period of evaluating like what's on my plate, what am I doing? I was, co-CEO. I have a family, I have this big job. I'm, in the public eye from an industry perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm expected to show up as a certain way in front of employees and team members. And so 2023 is when I really started to think like, can I be this person that I believe I need to be in this role? Am I able to be my authentic self in personal and professional life? And how am I showing up? And am I truly taking care of myself? So 2023 is really what kind of started this period of reflection. Come 2024, I was like, no, I can do this. I had put up a lot of boundaries. I did some work, and then early this year happened. And so what happened, so it's going to get a little bit more financial services speak, but there is somebody in our industry. His name is George Kinder. I don't know if you know who George Kinder is.
Don't.
He is who is called the father of life planning. And life planning,
Oh, Scott was talking about this. Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
Scott's big on life planning, Scott Rank. So I followed his work for years. I had never done the training. It's like 3 different sessions. And, part of like 2024, I thought, I wasn't working with clients anymore. I had transitioned most of them because I'm running the firm and also doing some marketing with Abacus still. And I decided I wanted to invest in just myself professionally. And I wanted to do something that did not necessarily have to grow Abacus, but could grow me as a human to benefit the company.
Mhm.
Well, so I did a 1-day training in November, 7 stages of money. In January, I did an Evoke week-long training where you learn how to become like a life planner. They basically bring you through a whole training of questions that you sit across from clients and ask. But to do this, you also have to go through it yourself.
Ah,
So you have to be life planned on
that's right.
in the process.
Okay.
And they ask these questions around if you had all the money in the world, where would you spend your time? And how would you allocate your time? And then take it a step further. You have, I think it's 5, 10 years left to live. You don't know how you're going to go, but you will go peacefully. How do you spend the next 5 to 10 years? What are you focused on during that time?
Ooh.
And then you take it a step further, and you have 24 hours left to live. What do you regret? What did you not get to do? What are you going to miss?
Yep.
Right. And so you're working on this as part of a week-long process. And throughout that, they do something that's called lighting your torch. So you're paired with another person, and that person learns all about you, your life, your goals, your visions, and basically lights your torch, which means they're reflecting back to your dream life, the dream, the vision of everything that would be peaceful for you, that you've kind of done all of this work and digging through. And it was during that session in January. I was the only woman going through it at the time, and I was not actually I wasn't doing actual client work, financial planning. So I'm in there from an executive perspective. I'm the only woman that's as a student in this, and I am thinking, oh shit, I think I need to leave Abacus because I'm answering the questions, and the things that are coming up for me are continuously, I know in my core, I want to help women around money. I have my own like historical ties to that. I have my own upbringing around it. But I know I personally want to feel like I am giving to women around money. I want to nurture, I want to teach, I want to do these things. And I was looking at what my day to day was right now, what I was spending my time doing. And it was kind of it. So I went into a period of struggle. I had the realization, I think it was like day 3 or 4 of the session, and my body went into full anxiety mode again. Like
Oh,
just
hell
full,
yeah.
because my heart knew, but my mind was not ready to accept it. It was like,
Right.
whoa, slow your roll.
That's
This is not.
right.
And so
That's
I went
right.
into kind of like this panic, high stress state for a couple months until I was actually due for another sabbatical for the way that the timing works out. And I decided I was going to take another sabbatical and just take the time to reflect. I was pretty transparent about with my co-CEO about what I needed to reflect on, and it was during that time that within the first week I finally was like, okay, I need to leave, and I just like everything kind of went whoosh, and it like just settled, like I just
Wow.
settled down, and I finally when I just kind of start to trust my gut and stop trying to rationalize why I should stay. And like I was just trying to reason and bargain in my mind. And not to say that those things don't still pop up, but when I finally accepted that I needed to walk, um, everything kind of just calmed down around it. And I went into this new period.
Wow. Okay, so your brain starts to process what your heart already knew,
Hmm.
and then you're like, okay, I'm not at the right place,
Hmm.
right? But then a sense of calm comes because you know, like the
Yep.
answer is there.
Yep.
How do you start? Well, okay, so this process you realize like the lightning bolt and the flag in the ground is around helping women around money.
Hmm.
How does it evolve to a place where, okay, now it's called Allora, like it actually
Yeah.
has.
Yeah. Yeah. How to get there?
Yeah,
You know, I didn't leave when I took that sabbatical. I didn't I came to the realization that I would start my own firm during that time, but it wasn't I need to leave and I need to start my own firm. Right? That was not like
sure, sure.
those were
Right,
not
right,
together.
right.
It was, I need
They're
to
not
exit.
connected, right?
They were not connected. I really had to do some reflection. I also, you're well known in a variety of circles and have done a variety of things. And so I considered, consulting, I considered marketing. What could other options be? How could I help women? What does it look like and what truly lights me up? And so it was over a period of a couple of months that I reached out to other, yeah, trusted just peers and confidants in the industry and started kind of leaning on them for guidance and brainstorming different options of people to reach out to just pick their brains of what is it like to do this path or that path,
Sure.
and kind of came back to the idea of authenticity, just being that I being able to be my authentic human self, right? Is what it came back to. And the thing I kind of went back to, which is what I've had poured into my prior firm, right? I felt that I was successful. I was very authentic when I was on my own. I was able to just show up like, this is me. If you want to work with our firm, this is who we are. These are the
That's right.
values. This is what you get. I'm pretty open, pretty flexible on certain things, but also is like, I'm a mom, I'm messy, I'm a little bit crazy, like I'm a
Yeah.
loud Italian. There's certain things where being able to embody my whole self, and that is how I've always showed up in life. I do not do well with small talk. I cannot do business talk. I'm like, tell me
Yeah.
your life story,
That's
all
right.
of your hopes and
Same.
dreams on day one.
Same.
I'm
Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah, same.
terrible networker. I just like you put me at a networking thing, and I'll find two people who want to go deep
That's
before I
right.
ever work
Yeah.
with them. And those were the things that I just wanted to be able to put my arms around. And so coming back to, okay, like that's what I wanted, and I wanted to be able to connect with women again, one-on-one around money around that. And so it was over 6 to 8 weeks that I decided to launch my own thing again, and to do it slowly and intentionally, not to go and say I'm going to build a multi-billion-dollar RAA
Sure,
and I'm
sure.
going to work myself back into the same stress that I had before. It
Right.
was really about kind of, we talked about, you said the intention and for what matters most. I have a family. My mom was also diagnosed with cancer in January.
Okay.
So we didn't know like what it looked like at the time, and she's in chemo right now. But I think just like those things in life, like we only have one life to live, right? We have one life to live, and at the end, there's going to be some boring stuff to do it, but throughout it, but I don't know. I just didn't want to waste it anymore. I wanted to really figure out what matters. And honestly, I love my family and I want to spend more time with them. I also want to spend more time with myself.
Oh,
That was a big
I love that
important.
yeah, I love that you're actually calling that out. the way I like to sometimes think about that for myself, and it's kind of like, well, in an emergency situation, this like draws the point, but it's like you need to put the oxygen mask on
Yeah,
first, then help your
I
child.
do. Absolutely.
So it's kind
Yeah.
of like it's like that.
Hmm.
If there's things that like light your fire in life, you are compelled and need to like do those things too, because that is a component of what matters.
Yep.
And so I love that you're calling that out, because sometimes it's easy. I know my husband and I, we find it easy to go all in on like, oh, okay, we have a 7-year-old and we're planning the in summer, and it's like camp and this and that and second grade and blah 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 blah, blah. And before you know it, like you're just all wound up, tending and doing all of the things that you really don't want to be doing for him, because it's like, wait a minute, he should be out just playing with kids. Why are we like trying to like do all of this stuff? And so, but that is also one of those things about just kind of modern life that is kind of,
Yeah. Yeah. It's really easy as a type A, kind of workaholic person to fall right back into the hustle. Yeah. I was like, as we were sitting here on your podcast, your second podcast, I don't even know how many how many. Um, but it's really easy to fall back into that. Also, I think it's very risky as creatives, right? Because some of that creative, like the creative that some people find as fun and outlets, is also part of the work. It's like the work we do too, and so I think it gets tricky and messy. And is it truly relaxing, or is it also
right,
work? And that's
right,
something I've really struggled with over the years, because I also I love the creation aspect. I love the content, the writing, the video. I love all of that, and it fills me up, but it's also like it's easy then for that it's work. And so I really
yeah.
stress people like, what are your hobbies? And I was like, oh
Ooh, work.
yeah, like what are your hobbies? And I was like, that's I still I'm like, okay, like, I really really going to go back to like what matters most. I have really tried to focus on hobbies that do not involve a screen, and that is very hard to be honest. But I'm like, so I intentionally told my husband, which is like, even the stuff I want to learn, I'm like, well, I need a screen to like follow. So I have actual cookbooks that I have purchased now with recipes for baking books and cooking, and so
Yeah.
I use those.
Wow.
And I'm trying to do more like things with my hands, or getting out into the backyard and maybe do some garden stuff that does not necessarily seem natural. That I don't. I'm not a gardener. I don't like. I don't do well
Sure.
at slowing down. Even my
Yeah.
workouts are a Peloton with a screen that something tells me what to do. That's sometimes to get through it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to walk away from the screens and interact a bit more day to day, just for myself on things. And so that's been like this what matters most is what does slowing down look like? Because it's very
Mm,
I meditate in the mornings. It's very easy for me to be like to-do list, meditate 15 minutes, check, workout 30 minutes, check. And it's
yep.
just powering through. And we can say that's me time, but is it though? Because I feel like it turns into a checklist easily as well. And so having space to ask these questions, right? That
For
when you're in
sure.
it day to day, and there's so many when you're in a corporate job, there's so many inputs. There's just so much coming in that it's very easy to lose sight of who you are and how you want to show up. Um, and so really, we talked about the women, but it also is like, how do I want to be remembered in the world? How do I want my kids to remember me?
Ooh.
When I chose to walk, I was going back to like this disconnect of like my brain really trying to rationalize and reason of like talk about compensation, security in terms of benefits. Hello, what are people going to think? Like, what are people going to think is a
Sure.
big one. Are people going to think I couldn't hack it? Are people going to think there's something wrong with all of these things? These fears come up,
Right.
but one of the things that always comes back to for me, I'm like, what would I tell my kids to do? What would and if I
Wow.
would tell them to do that, am I going to model that for them? Or am I going to stay in something that I know is authentic to myself? And that's what they're going to see, because mommy feels pressured by fill in the blanks. So that my kids like keep me humble, because they are the ones I go back to, like how I want to show them what it means to live an authentic life and to live, your core values. And I try to model that for them. One of my probably core truths is like the thing I hold on to is actions speak louder than words. Like always.
Totally.
I come back to that, and I very much believe like we can say something, but it's how we show up on our day to day that truly is what models for others, for ourselves, and
Yeah,
family.
my husband shared something with me once, and it's I had always known like actions speak louder than words. My mother, sharing that as a child, but my husband said it in a different way once, where he was like, people love to run their mouth at you, David. Right? He was like, you just let that come in and go out. Just watch what they do. And when he said it to me that one time, I was like, oh, I had always known like actions speak louder than words. But then like, oh, he was kind of cluing me in. What's You're hearing a certain soundtrack, right? But you're observing different actions and behaviors. So just watch the actions and behaviors and forget about what you're hearing.
That's absolutely.
And it was kind of like a lightning bolt for me. I was like, oh wow, like
I mean, that is amazing advice. And that is, I mean, to be completely candid, it's how I probably navigated the past 6 years just back in like corporate, of just like any room that I've been in. This came up recently actually in a group that I'm in, about going into lions dens, and how do you show up in the lions den? Do you
oh
show up ready
yeah,
to fight? Do you show up ready to assert yourself? Do you show up like, you don't know how other people are showing up? And I shared, just this week, I was like, I show up to those rooms and observe. I show up with a quiet strength. I think that is like my strength, is just I quietly observe, so that I power in like understanding how other people are showing up, and what could their
sure.
potential motives be, and what could the angle be. I don't go necessarily in and try to go toe to toe or assert my authority. I want to know the lay of the land, and I want to know like what are the true feelings and potential egos or concerns that are coming
Oh,
into a
yeah.
room, so that I can see that actions, right? Somebody could say something outside of room or inside of room, but how are they showing up? And the actions are huge for me. And so I found like that in that observation, there's a lot that can be found just by watching.
I have a question about your meditation practice.
Mhm.
Um, I have long tried to have a meditation practice, and I know the whole point of it is practice,
Yes.
and I am so out of practice. But like, why is that important to you? Where does it come from? Is it connected to spirituality? Like,
Yeah, so interesting. Okay. Well, my husband and I talk about this all the time. I was raised Catholic, he was raised Christian, and we talk about praying, but praying is actually meditating, but it was like forced on you in different ways.
what? No, sure, 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 sure,
Yeah,
sure. I grew up praying as a kid. I was like, yeah, 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 right,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But now I think over the past few years, I've invested in a cushion, which makes me feel like it's formal. So just base level stuff. You got to have a meditation cushion, so that I'm like, when I'm on this cushion, this is the thing.
That's right.
Um, it's about paying attention to what's happening in my body. As a go, go, go person,
Oh,
I do not, I had not in the past noticed what was going on in my body until like it was kind of like on fire. And that would be more of like, people are like, "Oh, are you afraid? Are you scared? Are you nervous? Are you sick? Are you happy?" Like what are the responses in your body when you have these
mm,
feelings? Um, and I just never, I think for me it's really about truly understanding like what I'm feeling, and like what I'm thinking, and then what's happening in my body. Like what are those connections? How do my thoughts impact what I feel? And is that thought actually true? Because and sometimes my body will feel a way before the thought even happens. Like before, like my body will automatically, like a stomach will drop before I've even had a thought, because it's like preemptive. And that's for me what it's about.
okay. I want to take it down a notch because and I'm super curious about this. I tend to be super self-aware of what's happening in my body,
Mhm.
but not always well equipped to do the things to listen to what the body's saying,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like so.
Yes. Yes.
But like, can you describe? So you described one where it was like, oh, your gut sinks, right? Like, okay, that's one, feeling in the body. What other sensations or feelings in the body do you experience that you're
Yeah.
tuning to?
So it's really, so for me, it's about understanding the fluidity of it all as well, of like, because it's easy to know what's happening in your body and then to get scared by it, right? Or to be like, oh,
Mm,
this tightness in my chest, or like, why is my stomach constantly burning? Or, so I think, so it's really sitting down that 15-20 minutes and thinking, okay, like, here's this, this burning in my stomach perhaps, right? And then like, is it on the left side or is it on the right side? And then kind of like, hey, well, where is it moving? Is it, and when I notice it there, is it moving anywhere else? And then you kind of start to see like, okay, is it a constant thing, or so it's just learning and like, okay, what could, and just kind of sitting with it and saying, okay, like that's here and that's okay. And really over that time though, as I've learned and done work over the years, it's really these feelings are fluid. They move throughout. So it's very rare that I sit on the cushion for 15 minutes and I'm like burning stomach, burning stomach, burning stomach.
Oh, okay, okay. Got
Right?
it, got it, got it.
It's like burning stomach, like tightness in the chest, or like, well, my back hurts, or like, and then and then it's like, okay, sitting here, like feeling loose in my feet. And so it's kind of just understanding where something might be happening that doesn't feel good, but where are other things happening that could feel like just neutral or could feel good. And so it's not, your body doesn't just all feel bad at one time. And it's normally we're focused on stress, I think, or like how it feels,
Right.
how that feels, but there's actually other parts of your body that feel like loose or feel like neutral. And so it's actually noticing, I work to notice those other parts as well and see, okay, if I'm feeling one way in the morning, like why am I feeling that? And I have a feeling wheel, David. I have a feeling wheel.
Oh,
Like just
okay.
like a basic thing that I've really had to look because it's like,
Yeah,
you have like your eight like, core emotions or whatever, and then it kind of like breaks out. And so like anxiety is actually, I think it's it goes down to like there's like overwhelmed or there's an overwhelm or there's like a frightened, I think, for anxiety. So we got people say they feel anxious. Like, am I actually feeling, I don't say anxious, I try not to say anxious. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling overwhelmed or I'm feeling like frightened, like, whatever
oh,
those two.
sure, 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 sure,
So
sure.
I try like those again, that helps me. Like this feeling of overwhelm is now a tightness in my chest or whatnot. And then kind of just understanding
Wow.
how related. I've done a lot of work over the past couple of years. I'm definitely not a therapist or like a master of any of this, but learning those things for me has been really helpful in terms of letting like just like letting go a little bit because I was very grippy in the beginning of like what's happening in my body. Like I should say I didn't know what was happening in my body, so therefore everything started to scare me
Sure,
when like my
sure.
body
Yeah,
started
yeah.
to kind of react. And then now I am much more aware of what's happening in my body. I'm probably more like of a sensitive person, but I've learned like whether it's tied to feelings and emotions as opposed to like I'm not actually physically sick. It's like what's happening in my life. And then it's just natural. Like it happens throughout the day. Like feelings like the tightness can come on for just, if I'm nervous about a call or
Sure.
something. And then the looseness it could come on like when I'm laughing joy with kids. I'm not always present, but that meditation, that 15 minutes has helped me to carry it forward in other areas of my day, right? It just helps me to get out of my head too. Like we're just
Uh,
constantly
totally. Okay, you said two kids.
two kids. Yes. I
Ages?
also have a 7-year-old boy as well. Second grade this year.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And what
And
was the other age?
10 years old. She just started fifth.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Very cool.
very cool. Very cool. Very in it.
Okay, you talk about money scripts,
Hmm.
anxiety, preconceived notions about money,
Hmm.
stories about money given to us by our parents. What money scripts did you grow up with?
Oh my gosh. That money is power and money is control and that
Ah,
there's never enough of it. I would say are the read.
okay.
Yeah. So you want to get hit there. So I grew up in a family that just didn't have a lot of money.
Okay.
And there was a lot of when you're allowed and you're Italian, there's like lots of curiosity about how much people pay for things. Like how much did you pay for that? How much did you pay for that? But you never give them the full price because they would be horrified by what you actually always say you got it for a discount. Uh, but we also like my parents like had to claim bankruptcy multiple times growing up.
Oh my
And
goodness.
so I remember a lot of stress around money. I worked from 15 on. I worked to pay my own bills. I paid my own way through college. I did not have a financial safety net.
Where did you
Um,
grow up?
I grew up in Southern California.
How did you overcome some of the scripts
Um,
that you're like, okay, this does not serve me?
yeah,
Like,
I think that's part of still what I still work through those, right?
hmm,
I ended up the opposite for my family in terms of like struggling and like debt and those things. I took that and went to like I became a financial advisor. I always joke that financial
sure.
advisors become like become financial advisors because they have some sort of money stress or anxiety. Not always the case. But I took it and flipped the script, and so now I went into like this kind of like safety and security. Like I always say that my money script is like I have the fear of like the bag lady living on the streets. Like
Yep.
I fear that will end up being my future, which is absolutely not true. But that's like that kind of flares up every now and then. I the power and control thing, I think mostly I, to this day, still feel like I need to be able to take care of myself, right? Like I cannot depend on anybody else. That is something I've carried with me. Like I am responsible for me. I'm not responsible for like for a family as well, which has to have stress, but
Sure.
I have to put on my
Sure.
own safety mask, right? I have to put on my own oxygen mask first. And so therefore I'm constantly scanning for like what are the risks that are out there that could take this. But I think that is the safety. I see safety. I'm not as risk like on as others because
Mhm.
I'm like, why take the risk if I know I'm going to be okay with this thing? I don't need to go out there chasing and buying like all the Bitcoin in the world, right? I don't need to do that personally. But like, if you do, great. So I think that, but it's been a lot of personal work to understand how they show up in our lives, and with having a partner, right? He has his own personal money scripts too, and so I think from me being paired with somebody on a day to day basis, in and out with money, that's been helpful for doing the work to understand what's helpful and what's not. And so really bringing him along into the finances has helped me to mostly like loosen that grip of control, and
Sure.
hired our own financial advisor, right? We have other people that we can like, it's not just me in control. I need to know that he would be okay if something happened to me. And so there's a
Sure.
person he can reach out to.
You just talked a little bit about risk and not taking risk, being a little bit risk averse,
And yet,
and yet, you've just brought something into being,
yes.
and it's not the first time.
Right.
Like
So
so.
it's funny, which is very interesting, but I go kicking and screaming. I go kicking and screaming into it. I wish it was like this smooth, like just gliding on in there. And this has definitely been the smoothest. Creating Allora has been the smoothest thus far because like I'm in my 40s now. I have built a sound financial future and I can run the numbers for myself. Like it's a
That's right.
calculated.
Like
I've
you
built,
know this. You know
I've
you've
built,
got this.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I've laid
yeah.
a foundation from I know how to build a business, I know how to run this business, I know how to market. I also know what my financial, floor is at this
That's
point.
right. Yeah.
So there's a wisdom that comes with age, right? There definitely is that, and
This is
there
true.
is a loosening of the grip of feeling like, again, this new chapter is. I keep joking that workable wealth was when all of my clients wanted to hustle and build their wealth, and now everybody just wants to rest. Anybody who wants to rest in their wealth, like come to me. Like those are the ones you want to rest. You're tired of hustling. Like let's do this. I am your lady who will let you know that it'll be okay and how you can do that. But that's what it's been. It's been being able to like create and rest in this, and that's the feeling I want people to have. And so I think this has been a really healthy, like cathartic thing for me to build
Yeah.
in a variety of ways.
On Instagram, you shared that you taught your daughter's Girl Scout troop about finance.
Hmm.
I want to talk about that a little bit. And also, my husband and I think a lot about, our son has been making comments about money,
Hmm.
whether we have it or whether we don't, or,
Yes.
how much of it do we have. And it kind of took us by surprise. We weren't expecting a 7-year old to like have questions like this. And so we were unprepared to have that conversation. So we kind of punted for the time being, which we're still in that space of we've successfully punted. But like, I want to hear about the story about your daughter's Girl Scout troop, and then like, what do you think the right time to talk to kids about money is?
I mean, it's fascinating the questions they ask about at 7. And I was like, why do you want to know?
Well,
What do you think?
yeah,
I ask questions back. Yeah. Why are you asking?
that's right.
And I love the numbers that come out of their mouths. Like I was like, whoa, okay, well,
Yeah.
but um, like we asked them just to decide. We were asking them. I'm reading Die with Zero. Did you read that book?
Oh, I haven't read it, but I have heard of it.
Yeah, I'm reading Die with Zero right now, and I was talking to my husband the other night about how much money would we want to leave the kids? Like, what is it?
Yep.
And the kid, they're 7 and 10. I'm like, hey kids, how much would you want us to leave you when we're when we're gone? And my father was like, 1,000. And I was like, done, got
Done.
it. So,
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
our 7-year-old's on his Switch, like he's doing a video game. He's like standing in front of the TV, and he's like, I got like 10. No, 25. No, 100,000. He's the one. He's hitting that.
Oh, he was processing in real time.
He was, but it was. I mean, it's funny with money. The Girl Scout troop was hysterical because it was at the time it was third graders and sixth graders, and we did a this or that. So the knockoff Stanley Cup. The Stanley Cups are big with the kids. I had to go find all the trendy things, and so I was like,
Oh
"There's this
yeah.
Stanley Cup,
Yep.
and this is like a a knockoff." And I'd be like, "How much do you think this one is? How much do you think each are?" Or and then so we talked about like just like and same thing like the Crocs, and there was like I don't know what the kids have like Labubu, all of these things that are ridiculous.
Wow. Yep.
But I did this or that, and they loved that game, like to figure out
Oh,
like
that's
how
a
much the
great
difference
game.
is.
Yeah.
I also gave them you have $100, and here's all the things that you can buy. Like you can donate, $10. You can, take a friend to the movies. You can buy popcorn at the movies. You can buy clothes, whatever. And so I made them. They went through and they all spent their $100, and then they had to share with the group what they
Very
chose
cool.
and why.
Very
And so
cool.
just getting them thinking about these things, and I mean, honestly, it was great, and they loved it. And there was also they all ended with like they'd rather spend their parents' money. Like that was like they were like, and it's like okay, so, so there was that aspect of it, but there was definitely a realization of like what things cost, and just like seeing their sense of priorities for how they couldn't buy it all. So what would they buy?
Right.
That was a really good way, I think, for them. And I did a lot of research on how I'd engage them. I think for talking to them about money, there's talking to them about money and there's also showing them experiences. And so we talk about, hey, we hope you know how lucky you are. And then we're in South San Diego, and we are 11 miles from the border. We've driven into Mexico a few times. We have friends with a beach house. And so we drive through Mexico, and we're like, now you see, they see, right? So they can see like we have our community, and then we're driving through Mexico and they're seeing other communities. We drive around downtown San Diego. We talk about unhoused populations and children. We took them to the Humane Society over spring break a couple of years ago. Actually, last year, the Humane Society just redid their inside and we donate there, and so we did a tour of the Humane Society so they could see all the dogs and those
Yep.
things. And so with money with them, it's a bit about talking about like allowances if we do them or not, and what privileges we have. We talk a little bit more with our 10-year-old about it than we do with the 7-year-old because I call him Prince Luca. To be honest, like just like, how did you come out this way? And I'm a little nervous about him because he wants all of the things all the time and just thinks like nothing's
Yep.
the sky is the limit for him. So, um,
Love it.
but when it comes to how much we make, I don't tell them because they actually don't have a concept of what that means. Right? They don't actually have
Mhm.
a concept of like they don't know how to compare, and they think things could be thousands of dollars or $100, or they don't really it doesn't fit in anywhere for them. So if I told them how much money we make or how much money we have, because actually they just asked us the other night too, how much money do we have? And we don't tell them because I'm like, well, like they don't have any context for it yet, and they don't
That's right.
know
That's
like in
right. That's right.
comparison.
Yep.
So we don't say too much about those things, but we do talk about, mommy and daddy are saving for you for college. And that is lucky because my husband went to the Naval Academy and had to give time as service for his like so
Oh yeah.
tuition, but had to like give back to the United States.
That's right.
I took out student loans, right? So I had to pay my own way through school. So we talk about those things of that we can do. So I think it's just really more age appropriate as they get older, you talk about things. But we do the give, save, spend jars. I don't know if you do that.
Oh no, we don't.
We do that. So anytime they get money, half goes into the spend, and then 50% to spend, 50% or 25% to save, and 25% to give. And so they have give jars, and they can decide where they want to give it to. Do they want to give it to the Humane Society? Do they want to buy pajamas for like the foster kids if the babysitter is doing something? They have that money they can give. My son's like, I want to give it to our neighbor, Miss Jill. Like he wants to give it, but
Oh, totally, totally.
super sweet. But they have that, so it gives them some agency and independence in those areas. And then we started it with our 7-year-old. Like we started with them both at 5, so 5. So
Oh
he
my
has his
goodness,
own
at
jars.
5.
Yeah,
Okay.
so he has his own
Okay.
jars.
Oh, 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 oh. FOMO, FOMO. Okay,
Yeah,
we're behind the 8 ball.
yeah.
Um,
No, you're not. Fine.
give, save, spend jars. And then how at 5, how do they get money?
So, I mean, there's sometimes they get it from gifts. If
Okay,
they
like that. Okay, yep.
There's gifts, there are like allowances, and so you could do like a $5 a month or week allowance, and then kind of you have to figure out the change that way. But like we do like an allowance, and they each get
Okay.
allowances, and there are some things that they get to be responsible for. Of like our son has to, he's 7, so he has to feed the dogs, he has to make
Okay.
his bed in the morning. He has to make sure there's no toothpaste in his sink. That's a fun one. I don't know, you probably have that here.
Oh,
It's a hard one. So
I'm still doing
yeah,
that.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
There's a few things that we try, and those are not. those are separate. Those are chores. Those are expected of them that like they get screen time. That's when he actually earns, like they earn through the chores is screen time. And then the allowance is typically just like a given, like it's a given weekly set amount. And then we can match savings and different things for them. But there's
Oh,
the
okay, I
whole
love that. Okay, but okay, so the allowance is just set allowance. This is coming,
Mhm. Yeah.
and then there's like chores and expectations,
Yeah. So right
right?
now they get $20 a month is the allowance. They each get $20 a month. Like just so $5 a week is what they get.
Okay,
Uh,
awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Do they still get excited about it? Did they ever get excited? Like
Yeah,
how?
they get excited. So my son's constantly saving for tracks. Yeah.
Okay.
So and they, I mean, they were, so we just went out to lunch. We went out for a friend's birthday party to a brewery on Friday, and there was a bunch of kids there, and they were running around. They wanted a $4 gelato bar, and I was like, and there's a bunch of other kids there, and they're starting a thing, and I was like, I'm not buying it, just on principle. I was like, I'm not buying you. There's cake. You just had candy. I'm not buying you. And they're like, we'll use our own money. We'll pay you back when we get home. And I was like, fine. You want to pay me back? And you bet your butt I made them give me $4 each when they
Oh,
got home.
hell yeah.
So they had
Oh,
to
hell yeah.
back
Yeah, yeah.
dollars. So
Oh,
so
wow.
that's stuff where I will give them the authority then if they want to spend it on those things and they want to make those choices. That I make sure to follow through there. Otherwise, it's a moot point.
Your daughter's 10.
Mhm.
Allora is set up, right? This is your next iteration of a firm to help women in
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
You're, from my view, looks like you're charting a course to start helping women from generation to generation. Talk to me a little bit about women, financial literacy with women, like your views on that. And like, I'm starting to see a thread, but I want to hear the thread.
Yeah, I think it's just so important for women to have agency and authority and power over their own lives. And I think so many women end up trapped accidentally or sidestepping issues that they feel are too complicated for them and hold the narrative of it's too hard. It was probably maybe like 10 years ago now. Like, it's girls can't do math, right? Girls can't do math.
Ah,
That whole narrative, it's still a
sure,
narrative. I remember the CFP
sure.
board at one point in time, something blew up on social media where another advisor was trying to promote the industry to women, to girls in high school, and they're like, it's not that much math. And I was like, don't negate the math. So
Ooh,
like that was
ooh.
not that don't negate the math. But I think it's really important, again, especially in these times, for women to maintain as much control and power as possible. And that is something that I impress on my 10-year-old in terms of her having independence. She always wants to know when we talk about firemen or a lawyer, she always wants to know the gender. She always wants to know, was it a woman? Was it a woman? She wants to know when we talk about,
Wow,
was it a woman?
wow.
And I think so. I think from that standpoint, like the independence, I think is really important. And I think starting as early as possible with generations. For women in general, there are so many hats that we have to wear as that society expects us to wear at this point in time, and it's complicated and it's easy for women to push money aside, right? It's easy we're supposed to show up as like these super women mothers, and I mean, and I see it firsthand, the expectation that's placed upon me. And my husband was the kind of like if we call it default parent, he was the main one as I was doing the work for Workable Wealth and actually for Abacus as well. He was a lot of the day-to-day stuff and the praise he got for showing up at the grocery store with our kids and the
Oh, you're such a great
yeah,
dad,
which
husband, blah,
yeah,
blah,
yeah, yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
But like, as a mom, I'm not in the classrooms. He's the only one that's on the playgrounds. And so I digress. But you see that this is the roles and expectations of society on women in terms of where you show up in life, where you show up in the boardroom, how you need to show up in all of these other areas. And I think money becomes something that is pushed aside or, delegated out sometimes. And I think that's unfortunate. And I think there's a lot of shame around money. I think there's a lot of shame. A lot of women, like, this might be a stupid question, and there's never any stupid questions, right? There's no stupid questions when it comes to your money. You just
that's
only
right. That's right.
it's just a matter of knowing, asking the questions and starting somewhere. And so for me, I think it's the thread is really important. And I have worked with 20-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 75-year-olds. There's always something that we can learn about money, but in general, those who do have control of it, are involved in it, feel a bit more sense of confidence and peace. And that for me lights me up. Like I had a client the other, that came over with me and she just said she showed her husband the statements and she said, I did that. I did this. Like we have generational wealth because I did this. And I was like, you did. And I was like, I hope you adjusted your crown right after you said that. And
Yeah.
that's the stuff. That's for me what I think is important and what I want to pass on, because that we don't know where the future is going. But
I'm going to put on my marketer hat here
Mhm.
because I have long held a view at both firms I've been at and
I love that we're talking about this from that angle. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Continue.
counsel that I give current clients, because like it's been a thing in wealth management around like, oh, we need to be more inclusive of women, but they don't usually say it like that. They usually say it like we need a women in wealth segment or we need a women in wealth program.
Women are not a niche.
Well, right. And I've always said like, I'm not marketing to genitalia.
Yes.
Like, I'm sorry. That's not what this is about.
No.
And what I'm hearing you in the depth of what you're talking about is very different than anything that I've heard. Because, like, usually I'm hearing things like, because I asked them, oh, okay, well, if we were to start a Women in Wealth program, what does that look like? Oh, well, we need to start messaging their fears, like being a bag lady or a blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, boop, boop. Like, can we just back up?
Yeah.
Like, as a marketer or a professional marketer, like in a human, you want to start with like a deep sense of empathy
Yes.
for who these human beings are and like how they move through the world. And not every firm, if we're going to be frank, has the DNA to actually support such a program.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm not willing to like be a marketer that stands up a program that isn't rooted in the right types of things.
Yep.
And I hear you with what you're doing and your trajectory of your career and where you're headed. And these are some of your deepest roots.
Yes.
So when I think of like, oh, women in wealth programs, I'll be watching you.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, right? And I remember when I first went to Dimensionals. This is private, your personal podcast, but Dimensionals is a fun company. When I first went to one of their sessions to learn how to do women's circles, I spoke with them. This was pre-COVID. I was like, I would love to do this virtually. I would love to do this virtually and bring it. And it was just like, well, these are meant, and originally it was like, well, we haven't done that before. And these are really like these in-person things. And lo and behold, COVID happened and people learned how to do circles virtually.
There's some silver linings from
I think
that
that's,
crazy period.
it is like, how do you bring people together? How do you bring women together? And you just, women, one, they don't want to feel alone. Like I talked about the shame aspect. And I think there's so much going on in their personal lives, and to have somewhere that they can confide in and feel safe and feel secure and like they're not being judged, I think is incredibly important. And that is absolutely what should happen around their money. We're not therapists, but money is a tricky topic. And I talk about this openly. People will talk about the number of partners they've had in bed before they talk about the balances in their bank account, right?
Sure.
No matter how old you are, I think you're
Sure.
still willing. You'll be 80 years old. You're throwing out how many partners you had before you talk about that. And I think that says something. And so if we can provide that space for women to find that comfort and find that power, that is what I think is important. And honestly, I love it because it's about building community and connection more than it is about the dollar amount, right? It's about people living fulfilled lives. Like we talked about, like what matters most, going back to that, right? Because what matters most is not the number in our bank accounts. It's not.
No.
Did we feel connected? Did we feel supported? Do we get to do the things that light us up? At the end of the day, that's what I care about, which is why I had originally started in the industry, like not wanting to originally, the whole minimum situation and how do you make it more accessible. But I think it comes back to that. Like for me, it's about, I'm stoked when my clients do well for themselves, but I'm also just really stoked when they feel peaceful around their lives.
Sure. I've been known to say in the industry, and I know this is also my personal podcast, but I was like, you know what? When Mary Beth comes on, we're going to talk shop a little bit. We got to talk.
I don't know how. This is so hard.
I have been known to say, probably since around 2015, it's never been a better time to start an RIA. meaning a registered investment advisory firm. And what I mean by that is it's never been a better time to be an entrepreneur in an industry that, yes, right now is seeing a wild amount of consolidation. I mean, of which I was a part of. You know, you merged in a firm, right? I merged in a firm. And I still say it today, it's never been a better time to start one of these firms. And what I'm actually saying, the subtext, right? Because I'm one of those folks that with my Mormon background and kind of like leaving the church and like coming out and like all just the things that I've experienced in my life, there's a certain element of like somebody has to say these things and
Yes.
call it like it is. But this industry as a whole has generally speaking moves very slowly. And while it has made some changes, like that's why I'm saying it's never been a better time, because if you are someone who cares deeply and has the ability to have deep empathy like you do for your potential clients and your clients, if you are that type of an entrepreneur and advisor, this is an amazing space to be in. And even historically, when you look at like what it takes to actually be a financial advisor, the bar's low, folks, right? Like there's no educational requirement, right, to actually
Be an advisor, no.
to be an advisor,
Not to be an advisor.
right? And then that goes to like, okay, well, what would it take to be a part of this industry? And it's like, yeah, you need a CFP, you need to be a certified financial planner. That's kind of like, yeah, and there's educational requirements because like now you have some body out there that's certifying some level of like ability,
Yes.
right, and standardization, which was needed, right? But now I find myself still saying it because I do think that there's a generation of advisors that are coming into firms and watching how slowly they change and are like, this isn't for me. I can't see myself and I can't see my future with the things that how I want to live my life and the things that matter most to me fitting into the existing containers of what exists in an industry. And the beauty there too is that means there's massive entrepreneurial opportunity. And I still feel the same way, even with all the consolidation. Like, it's just like, nope, you can still do it.
Absolutely agree. I mean, I 100%. Since I have left my other position, I have seen at least a dozen firms launched on my LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
I mean, at least a dozen in the past
Yeah.
months. And it's phenomenal. I
Do you
think
have
that
any favorites, by the way?
any favorites for firms that have
Like
launched?
firms that have launched and you're like, ooh, I'm watching, I'm excited.
I only know the people. I don't know their firm names.
Oh, okay.
I was like,
No, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah. I just spoke with somebody this morning, right before this call, and he had merged his firm in to a much larger firm
Okay.
and he unwound it within, I think it was within the first year. He had merged in entrepreneurial, very similar, like recruited based on the energy. I think that the cohorts that start their own people that start their own firms, I was recruited for the same reason. There's a lot of energy and activity around them, right? These people are doing
Yes.
something
That's right.
different than sometimes what happens in the larger firms when you
That's
become
right.
part of a system. There's a structure, it moves a little bit slower, a lot slower sometimes depending on where you're at. And so that is a great move for an acquirer to bring in a firm that has and especially founders that have energy and momentum and still want to build. But there's a disconnect sometimes and there's not a fit, right? So you have these entrepreneurial people who might be recruited, who might want to check it out, and then you get in there and you're like, whoop, nope, not for me. And so he had that unwound within that first 12 months, and then launching his own thing again. And I think it's really interesting, going back to what you said. I think there will always be consolidation, and I think there will always be those who are like firms that are launching solo, who may partner up and may grow over time, and they may eventually be acquired down 10, 20 years down the road.
Sure.
But I think there will continue to be that cycle of people starting their own firms, because it is those who want to build in this way and build with authenticity and kind of are okay to do some of that initial struggle of figuring out processes and systems. There is so much good that you can do and so much impact that you can make when you are on your own. You run into battles as you grow and you run into hurdles, but I do agree with you as well. I think there's never been a better time. Especially there's, when I launched XYPN didn't exist, and that's XY Planning Network
Oh,
is like a
mhm.
platform for financial advisors to, I mean, it's a plug and play for them. That didn't exist. Alan Moore is the founder of that, and we were in a study group when he created that.
Wow.
And so, but now that exists. So, I mean, it's
Yeah,
even easier now. There's so many places and resources. So I agree. I think it's always going to be a struggle for larger brands to market in the way that solo advisors and smaller companies can. That nimbleness, that vulnerability, especially when you have to become more corporate, more buttoned up. And I think that will is what will perpetuate the cycle. Those larger brands will still look to those smaller folks to bring them in, to bring that energy.
yeah,
The problem will be how, do they really retain that? How much of that energy do they retain, or do they break it down and it disappears over a few
that's
years?
true. Yeah, because that energy, when it is when left in an expansive state,
Mhm.
is incredibly magnetic.
Right.
Um, and sometimes if it's put in a container, you can actually lose the magnetism. You can lose the beauty and the
Yeah. And
energy.
that's the business cycle, no matter what
No,
industry.
well, for sure, for sure, absolutely, for sure. Questions for me? Shoot.
I mean, I just want to know like how the personal is working in with like the professional, and how is this going, and what's lighting you up?
Oh, what's lighting me up? Um, what lights me up is all things Xander. It has been so incredibly wonderful to be his dad. Um, and like I want to invest more time in me, right? I want to be able to start a meditation practice and be consistent with it. I struggle with the consistency thing. Like same thing, like a walk every day, that would be really nice, but I get stuck in this room and it's like, well, yeah, all things Xander light me up. To be more specific, like, I want to participate more,
Mm,
but find a way to do it that like is me.
yeah.
I don't even know what I'm saying, but
No,
like,
I know what you're saying.
yeah,
Maybe not that this is the thing, but like playing dress up or like imagination stuff might not be my thing, right? I'm like,
right.
you want to have in-depth conversations about like world peace? Great. But that's like for the parent. Like, how do you parent authentically? Like, how do you show up as you? Because I'm like, oh, bud, like I don't want to go through the Mario characters for the 25th time. Like, I'm so happy that you love them. Um,
Totally.
but that's like, it's how do you, and then I think there's a guilt there, right? Because they
There is.
might want you to show up in a way,
Yeah.
and then, but it's not the thing. And I think that's like parenting in general is
Like
like,
last night, he wanted me to sit down and build Legos with him.
yeah, Billions, yeah.
And I was like, I'm gonna sit at this table and color like one of your Pokemon pages.
That's,
So we're gonna parallel play here
I think
today.
it's better. I mean, that's absolutely it. I mean, that's better because sometimes I'm like, mommy's gonna sit in here and pay some bills while I will pick
Yeah.
out which cars you're gonna race. Like, I'll pick purple and orange, and then he'll be like, orange one. I'm like, yay. No, but I think it's hard, or it's hard also when working from home, I think, because they mistake, like, they want my presence to be my physical presence to be my mental presence, is like what they view it as, right? They're kids, they
Right.
don't know.
That's right.
I know it has to be segmented, but I still carry the guilt. Even, like
Yeah.
the way that I'm sure we were all raised, like I had childcare, I was at babysitters, and I got my parents maybe on the weekends, or
Yep.
hour at night if lucky.
Yeah.
But there's this expectation of being on and deeply involved all the time, and that's part of like that work that I've had to do, is that actually like, what does it mean for me to be present with them, and like they will be okay, like you are present, like you are an amazing dad, and like the experiences and all of the things, and they will be okay. But for some reason we feel like we're traumatizing them in some other way and
Totally.
feeling
I
not good
know.
enough. And I think it's really that I've had to do a lot of work around that too, because I feel you on that, is like somebody, when you have all these other tabs open and ideas of things that you can do, like your brain just works a different way.
Sure.
And
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, that's amazing to, just, yeah, I mean, amazing to hear, and like very cool from the delegation standpoint, and like taking the things off your plate. Like, it sounds like you're doing like just that, like moving towards the path of, the life that you want to live.
Yeah, and I also there's a part of me like with this podcast, there's a part of me that wants to take it on the road. Like it would be so cool to just like be like, oh yeah, Mary Beth, I'm gonna come down and see you, and we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have the conversation, we're gonna set it all up, and blah blah blah, and like do the thing, and then just kind of do that. That would like, I would love to do that all the time, um, and run, my business, right? But then like kind of have I don't know. I love having these kind of conversations. It is rare for me to have somebody from the industry like come on
Yeah, sorry, we
because
totally hijacked this and made it financial.
oh yeah, no, it's all
Like,
good.
we'll edit it out.
No, it's all good. No, I think no, I want to leave it
Yeah,
all
like, shows
in.
another side of who you are.
Yeah,
And
yeah, totally. And it's actually a really good window. Like it's a great window of what a wealth management firm or
oh,
practice can be.
yeah, yeah.
Because what's out in the marketplace, a lot like the industry struggles with like we all look the same, we all sound the
Mhm.
same because they all say the same things.
Yeah,
And the value prop sounds the same and the blah 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 blah. And that's not what that's not what
yeah.
you're doing. Okay, so what does allora mean?
So allora is an Italian word, and
Okay.
it specifically translates to or well. And so it's a pause. It's a filler word. And I
Oh my
actually, it's
gosh, I
really
love it.
funny. I just had another advisor who's in Italy right now. She sent me a post on Instagram, and it's basically about, it says like the power of allora. And it's this Italian superpower word that buys you time. It's the pause in between your next step. It's the pause so you can gather your thoughts and take a moment to
Wow.
reflect of, okay, where do I want this to go? And so it's really the superpower word. When you go, Italians say it all the time. Like I have my Italian teacher in my head. She's allora, allora. But that's really about this power, right? So it's about the power of the pause. It means well, but it's a filler pause word. And so that's where allora came from, was like, this is the pause. This is the moment before you take that next step. Like this is like,
Oh my
let's take a
goodness.
breath and then we'll begin. And so that's what I wanted the website and everything that I'm building around it to emulate, is just this like this different feeling of like, let's like a bit of an exhale, right? Like it doesn't need to
Mm,
be it doesn't need to be so grippy. It doesn't need to be so stressful. And so like, let's take a beat and then we can move on. And that's what I tried to incorporate across the website and the content for what I'm doing, is this more like, okay.
that's
So
very cool. Where can people find your website?
they can go to www.allorawealth.com. It's ALLORA wealth.com.
Great.
Allora.
Yeah,
And
sweet.
I can do it with the hands too, like Mary Italian. Like that.
So, Mary Beth, thank you so much for coming on Coated in Gold. It has
Thank
been absolutely wonderful having you. I can't wait. I am so curious to see what comes from Allora. Know that you have a raving fan. Always watching what you're doing. I've been a raving fan since we met years ago.
Likewise, back at you.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for coming on.
Thank
Appreciate you. Thanks for listening to Coated in Gold. I've been your host, David Newsom. If you enjoyed this conversation, leave a like, comment, or share the episode. Let's keep this conversation going. Tune in next week to hear my conversation with Jennifer DeZols, the founder of Modern Family Wealth and the subject of the 2015 documentary Out and Around. You can follow Coated in Gold on our socials for updates on upcoming episodes. Links are in the show notes. Thank you and take good care.